ألم تر أن الفلك تجري في البحر بنعمة الله ليريكم من آياته إن في ذلك لآيات لكل صبار شكور.
Do you not see that ships sail in the sea by Allah's grace, that He may show you some of His signs? Surely, there are signs in this for everyone who is steadfast, thankful.
56. That is, when the people who possess these two qualities recognize the reality by these signs, they come to understand Tawheed clearly and stick to it firmly. The first quality is that they should be patient. They should not be fickle but fine and persistent. They should remain steadfast on the righteous belief under all circumstances, pleasant or unpleasant, difficult or easy, favorable or unfavorable. They should not have the weakness that when the hard times come they stand imploring God humbly, and when they change into good times, they forget God altogether. Or that, to the contrary, they should worship God in good times and start cursing Him when touched by afflictions and misfortunes. The other quality is that they should be grateful. They should not prove ungrateful and thankless, but appreciative of favor, and should remain perpetually disposed from within to render thanks to the one who conferred the favor.
وَإِذَا غَشِيَهُم مَّوْجٌ كَالظُّلَلِ دَعَوُا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ فَلَمَّا نَجَّاهُمْ إِلَى الْبَرِّ فَمِنْهُم مُّقْتَصِدٌ وَمَا يَجْحَدُ بِآيَاتِنَا إِلَّا كُلُّ خَتَّارٍ كَفُورٍ.
When waves engulf them in the sea like canopies, they call upon Allah, consecrating their faith solely to Him. But when He delivers them safely to the land, some of them become lukewarm. None denies our signs except the perfidious, the ungrateful.
57. Iqtizad in the original may mean uprightness or moderateness. In the first case, the verse would mean, a few of them only remain steadfast on Tawheed, which they had promised to follow when overwhelmed by the storm, and this makes them adhere to uprightness ever afterwards. If it is taken to mean moderateness, it would mean, some of them become moderate and less rigid in their creed of atheism and polytheism, or they lose some of their fervor and enthusiasm that had been caused by the incident of calamity. Most probably Allah has used this meaningful sentence here in order to allude to all the three states simultaneously. The object probably is to point out the fact that during the storm at sea the mind of everybody is automatically set right, and everybody gives up atheism and polytheism and starts invoking one Allah for help. But as soon as they safely land on the shore, only a few of them seem to have learned any enduring lesson from their experience. Then, this small number also is divided into three groups: those who adopt uprightness ever afterwards, and those who become moderate in their disbelief, and those who retain some of the spirit of enthusiasm caused temporarily by the calamity. 58. These two qualities are the antithesis of the two qualities mentioned in the preceding verse. A treacherous person is he who is utterly disloyal and who has no regard for his promise and pledge, and the ungrateful he who does not acknowledge the good and the gains and the benefits received by him, and even behaves rebelliously towards his benefactor. The people having these qualities return to their disbelief, their atheism and their polytheism without any hesitation as soon as the danger has been averted. They do not admit that they had perceived some signs in their own selves as well as outside themselves of Allah's existence and of His being only one when overwhelmed by the storm, and their invoking Allah was in fact the result of their recognition of the same reality. The atheists among them explain away their act, saying, "It was a weakness which we manifested in the state of confusion and bewilderment, whereas there exists no God, who might have saved us from the storm. We in fact succeeded in escaping by virtue of such and such a device and means and resources." As for the mushriks, they generally say, "We had the succor and protection of such and such a saint or god and goddess available to us by virtue of which we escaped." Therefore, as soon as they land on the shore, they start giving thanks to these false gods and presenting offerings at their shrines. They do not bother to think that when they had lost hope, there was none beside Allah, the one, whom they might have implored and invoked for help.
Some of them become lukewarm. The word used here is muqtasid. Were we to take iqtisad to mean rectitude and uprightness, the verse means that even after a crisis is over and the person facing it has landed on the shores of safety, he still adheres to Tawheed. Alternatively, if the word is considered to signify a moderate midway course, the verse means that when people encounter a serious difficulty, they become moderate and less rigid in their adherence to atheism and polytheism. It may also mean that after the worst is over, people lose a part of their former fervor and enthusiasm in devotion to God, which was aroused by the threatening circumstances that enveloped them.
أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم واخشوا يوما لا يجزي والد عن ولده ولا مولود هو جاز عن والده شيئا إن وعد الله حق فلا تغرنكم الحياة الدنيا ولا يغرنكم بالله الغرور.
O people, fear the wrath of your Lord, and dread the day when no father will stand for his child, nor any child stand for his father. Surely, Allah's promise is true. So let the life of this world not beguile you, nor let the deluder delude you about Allah.
59. That is, the relationship of a person with his friend, or his leader, or his spiritual guide, etc. is not that close and intimate as the relationship that exists between the children and their parents, but on the day of resurrection even the son and the father will not be able to help each other. The father will not have the courage to come forward and say that he may be seized instead of the son for his sins, nor will the son have the nerve to say that he may be sent to hell instead of the father. How can then a person expect that one will be able to avail something for the other there? Therefore, foolish is the person who spoils his hereafter in the world for the sake of another, or adopts the way of sin and deviation by dependence on others. Here, one should keep in view the theme of verse 15, in which the children have been admonished not to accept deviation in the matter of the faith and religion on behest of the parents, though in affairs of mundane life they are duty-bound to serve them as best as they can. 60. Allah's promise, the promise of resurrection, when the court of Allah will be established and everyone will be called to render an account of his deeds. 61. The life of the world involves the people, who only see the superficial, in different kinds of misunderstandings. Someone thinks that life and death only belong to this world, and there is no life after this. Therefore, whatever one has to do, one should do it here and now. Another one who is lost in his wealth and power and prosperity, forgets his death and gets involved in the foolish idea that his grandees and his power are everlasting. Another one overlooking the moral and spiritual objectives regards the material gains and pleasures in themselves as the only objectives and does not give anything any importance but the standard of living, no matter whether his standard of humanity goes on falling lower and lower as a result thereof. Someone thinks that worldly prosperity is the real criterion of truth and falsehood. Every way of life that ensures this is the truth and everything contradictory to it is falsehood. Someone regards this very prosperity as a sign of being Allah's favorite and assumes the law that whoever is leading a prosperous life here is Allah's beloved no matter by what means he might have achieved this prosperity, and whoever is leading a miserable life in the world, even if it be so due to his love of the truth and his uprightness, will live a miserable life in the hereafter. 2. These and other such misunderstandings have been called deceptions of the worldly life by Allah. 62. Al-Gharur, the deceiver, may be Satan or a man or a group of them, or even man's own self, or something else. The reason for using this comprehensive and meaningful word in its absolute form without identifying a particular person or thing is that for different people there are different means that cause them deception. Any particular means or cause that deceived a person to be misled and misguided from the right way to the wrong way, will be al-gharur in his particular case. To deceive about Allah are also comprehensive words, which include countless kinds of deceptions. The deceiver deceives one man with the idea that there is no God at all, and another man with the idea that God after making the world has handed over its control and administration to the men and is no more concerned with it. He misleads another one, saying, there are some favorite ones of God. If you attain nearness to them, you will surely win your forgiveness whatever you may do, or may have done, in the world. He deceives another one, saying, God is all forgiving and all merciful. You may go on committing sins freely, and He will go on forgiving each sin of yours. He gives another person the idea of determinism and misguides him, saying, everything that you do is preordained. If you commit evil, it is God who makes you commit it. If you avoid goodness, it is God who makes you avoid it. Thus, there are countless types of such deceptions with which man is being deceived concerning God. When analyzed, it comes to light that the basic cause of all errors and sins and crimes is that man has been deceived concerning God in one way or the other, and that is how he has been misled to some ideological deviation or moral error.
إن الله عنده علم الساعة وينزل الغيث ويعلم ما في الأرحام وما تدري نفس ماذا تكسب غدا وما تدري نفس بأي أرض تموت إن الله عليم خبير.
Surely, Allah alone has the knowledge of the hour. It is He who sends down the rain and knows what is in the wombs. Although no person knows what he will earn tomorrow, nor does he know in which land he will die. Indeed, Allah is all-knowing, all-aware.
63. This verse is, in fact, an answer to the disbelievers' question as to when the hour of resurrection will come, which they asked when they heard the Prophet, peace be upon him, mention it and the promise of the hereafter, again and again. The Quran has answered this sometimes by citing the question and sometimes without citing it, because the addressees knew what they were asking. This is one of those verses which answer the question without citing the question itself. The first sentence, Allah, with Him is the knowledge of the hour, is the real answer to the question. The 4 sentences that follow constitute the argument to support it. The argument means this, O man, you do not have the knowledge even about those things with which you are most closely and intimately concerned in life. How then can it be possible for you to know as to when will the whole world come to an end? Your prosperity and adversity mainly depend on the rain. But its control and regulation is entirely in the hand of Allah. He sends down the rain whenever and wherever and in whatever measure He pleases and withholds it whenever He pleases. You do not at all know how much of the rain will fall at a particular place at a particular time and which land will remain without it, and which land will be adversely affected in spite of it. Your wives conceive by your own sperm drop, which perpetuates your race in the future, but you do not know what is taking shape in their wombs, and in what form and with what good or evil it will emerge. You do not even know what you are going to meet with the next day. A sudden accident can change your destiny, but you are unaware of it even a minute before its occurrence. You do not know where your present life will eventually come to an end. Allah has kept all this information within Himself alone, and has not given you any knowledge of any of these. You should have the knowledge of each of these things so that you may make necessary preparations beforehand, but you have no other course open to you than to depend only on Allah's decree and disposal in these matters. Likewise, about the end of the world also there is no alternative but to rely on Allah's decree and decision. The knowledge of this also has neither been given to anybody, nor can it be given. Here, another thing also should be understood well, and that is, this verse does not give a list of the unseen and hidden things, which are known to no one but Allah. Here only some of the most apparent things have been pointed out only to serve as an illustration. These are the things with which man is most deeply and intimately concerned, yet he is unaware of them. From this it would be wrong to conclude that these are the only 5 unseen and hidden things which are known to no one but Allah. As a matter of fact, gab applies to every such thing which is hidden from the creation but is in the knowledge of Allah, and such things are countless and limitless. For a detailed discussion of this, see Surah An-Nam, Ayat 65 and its ends.